Good afternoon, everybody. My topic today, I'm going to talk about how to heal from loss. This is a big one for a lot of us. We lose a lot of people in our lives. We lose your jobs, we lose friends, family. It goes on and on and on and on and on. It could be as simple as losing wealth. It's like so many things. Like you could be working on your computer for a long period of time. You have all kinds of files. You get a virus, everything's gone, including all your family pictures, the family of your kids, your family of friends. There's so many forms of losses out there. So how do you let this go? How do you move on from that? First of all, you need to find out what is the reason why you're so upset. And this goes with a lot of things. You need to look at the core of why you're upset. You could say, oh, well, I never really got to know a person. I never really, for instance, if you lost a loved one, I want to know them more. But what's the real reason why? That could be the real reason, but you need to really go down and look inside yourself and ask those hard questions about why you really miss this person. You need to walk through that as well. You need to walk through the understanding of why this is occurring. Like my mother died of cancer, and one of the last things I remember was her. I was taking photography at Humber College in Etobicoke, and I called back because her mother was really really sick, and she was dying of cancer for a very very long time, and I spent many years trying to heal and understand that. And I'd done so many things. I'm not going to go into details of everything I did, but I did everything I could, and even to the point of asking them to give the cancer to myself so she could live her life. And the last memory I have of her is leaving the hospital with her bawling her eyes out because she knew she would never see her again. And that was one of the hardest things I had to do in my life, I believe, and it still has an effect on me. And I'm trying really hard not to have that affect me now. I have journeyed into this a few times, and recently I did one, and it was a pretty emotional journey, but it's important that we do these journeys. It doesn't mean that you have to be able to go in and spiritually in any way. It's going back, revisiting the memory of what happened and learning to let it go. And the more you do that, the more you go in, and you're going to cry, you're going to do whatever you need to do, but it's important that you do that. It's important that you release that energy, and it's important that you go within your soul to find out why this is so upsetting to you. Because you're going to have guilt, you're going to have all kinds of different things. Like for my situation, I talked to my mother and we both agreed it made the most sense, and for me to go back to because I would have had to repeat the whole semester because it was really just before exams this happened. So this is a big test for me, and I got back and she died 3 days later, and I wasn't able to go back to the funeral. And I could have gave up that year and had to restart all over again. I wasn't a wealthy person, and that was a hard decision. It wasn't not as much about wealth, it was about a decision that I made with my mother and her agreeing that it was more important that I actually stay in school and complete that instead of having to do it. But it's like I had to live with that decision for my whole life. And so what was the real reason? What was why when I because it seems that to me that memory of that incident overshadowed a lot of my memories of my mother. When I was growing up, I go back and look back and I don't see a lot of it. So a lot of it's overshadowed by that memory. And so every time I go in and have that, relive that moment, I have to be able to let it go so the memories, the true memories, the happy, loving memories can come back into my life again. And I know there's a lot of people out there that lose people, and it's a really difficult thing to deal with. And so you have to look at why you're so upset. Like, why was I truly upset? Was it, and I never really got to know my mother that much either, because she was sick when I was at a young age and most of my teenage life, and she died when I was 21. But I remember it's when I was 16. She was at I was the youngest, so I was the only one living with her at the time, and she was at my grandmother's the whole almost a good portion of that year, and she was sick every day. And so I was living by myself in a sense at a very young age. I had my other brothers and sisters come and seeing everything was going okay. I was a pretty mature guy, so I had a job as a chef actually at a restaurant, and so I kept pretty busy. But it was extremely difficult for me to deal with that situation of seeing her suffer for so many years. So when she was her time to go, there was a part of myself that was very relieved that she didn't have to suffer any longer, because I watched her suffer for many years, and it was very hard on me. But at the same time, it gave me the strength. It gives me strength, and I look at women in a different light than maybe if I didn't have to go through that experience, because I look at women as very strong. Because my mother was sick a lot, but she always, every time she was around me, she was as positive as she could be, and as strong as she could be. And that gave me a really, really different perspective on the strength of women, and as equals, as ability to see things differently. So I look at women as an equal to me, and I'm as equal to everyone else. I'm not above anyone, and nobody's above me. So the hierarchy thing I don't agree with, and because I don't think it was ever meant to be that way. People are all created equal, and that's something that you say, okay, well, what about people that have illnesses and people that have disabilities? You could go on and on and on. You have one person that's really strong, one person that's weak. It's not the physical bodies that are equal, it's the souls that are equal. And we are souls. We are spiritual beings. So that is who we truly are. So we are all equal. And we're all on a different path. So that one person that's really strong and one person that's really weak, the strong person doesn't have a right to ridicule the person that is weak, because that soul could be a heck of a lot older than him. And it's not just that, we're here to experience the differences in every situation, to really look at it and come out saying that yes, everyone is equal. Everyone deserves the respect and dignity from everyone else. So we go back about looking at a loss in your life and saying, okay, this is what happened, this is how I feel, but then you need to go deeper and really experience the loss and letting it go, and asking whatever belief system you have to allow that energy to go and be reborn. I was lucky a couple of times to have my mother visit me, and I could go visit her, and I still can go visit her anytime I want, and I feel myself lucky for that, because I'm able to see and let go and speak to her, and it helps me get through the hard moments. That memory is still in my mind, and it's fading as I get older. However, it takes a lot to get rid of a loss like that, because it's the guilt of me making that decision of leaving. Did I make the right choice? Did I not make the right choice? Should I stayed? And the ability not to go back when she died, to go to the funeral. And that's difficult to swallow, because she was really my only parent. My father left when I was 4, never really got to know him. So to have my only parent die, that I wasn't even able to go to the funeral, was very hard to swallow as well. It's all the years of me trying to help her, and it was never meant to be. She was meant to go through exactly what she went through, and that's another lesson that as a human being that we have to accept. When I do spiritual work, there's times the spirits will directly tell me that this individual has to go through this themselves, they have to find the strength to overcome it, because that is part of their learning. There's other times we go in and clean everything up and everything's hunky-dory, because that is, again, the person already has learned the lesson, is now able to let go. Because it's a joint effort when we do spiritual work. It's not just one person going in and taking everything away. It's the belief in the other person has to believe in themselves, and they understand that they have the strength to heal as well, and in order to be willingness to let go of things. So there's so many things that go on when you lose somebody, and how do you actually overcome it? What do you actually do? Do you just bottle it up inside and just forget about it? No. You visit it, not all the time, maybe twice a year, maybe once a year, maybe once every couple of years. You will know when. You'll feel something inside yourself that you need to go back and say, okay, it's time for me to revisit this. And learn and understand that none of it's anybody's fault. Even if you made decisions that weren't perfect, that you think caused something. For instance, it could be a situation where you had too much to drink and you drove a car and you got in an accident. Now, is that your fault? In a way, it's a decision that you made that created a situation that caused other people to die. So yes, at the same time, you're going to spend your whole life saying it's my fault and never forgive yourself. I would hope that you would learn your lesson and never drink again, because if you did, then it becomes more of a complex issue. Then it becomes, it's a whole nother issue entirely. But there could be a situation where you said this, you, for instance, got sick, you couldn't go to work that day, and the person that you always drive with got in a car accident and died, and you were the one that was supposed to be driving. You could say that, well, if I was driving, that would never have happened. The simple fact is you were never supposed to be there in the first place. So, but every situation is different. Every situation is unique. And every time every individual loses someone in their life, I know that my mom's in a better place, and I know my mother's in a much better place to help individuals as well. But there's always that human aspect of things, the grief, the loss. But there's people out there that don't believe in anything. How hard is it for somebody like that loses a family member, loses a mother, loses a son, a daughter, when they believe in nothing? That is also difficult. I can't really speak for everybody, but at least the understanding and the belief that there is an afterlife and that people have lived many lifetimes helps. But then you got the human aspect as well that tells you, well, if you would have done this, if you did this, I wish you would have done that differently. It's just not, you can't hold on to that stuff, because that is just causing you grief that's not necessary. However, you need to look at it. You need to understand it and let go of it. And it could take you 20 years, 30 years. You could spend your whole life letting go of that. But it's worth it. Because then you don't carry it with you when you die. You don't have that regret. And if you do, when you die, who knows, maybe you let go of all that as well. But every time you look at yourself and heal yourself, a part of your soul is able to let go of that. But if you don't let go of it on this earth, it makes it much more difficult to let go of it when you die. Some people say that you can do whatever you want and there's no repercussions. I don't agree with that. Not what I see. When I go in and heal people, we beat ourselves up so bad. We create energy blockages. We create fractions of our soul that echo for many lifetimes. But you got to understand that our soul is unlimited in fractions. So if you actually take a soul and a small piece of it breaks off, is that going to destroy your soul? No, it's not. But every time that you can take a part of that soul and bring it back into yourself, it just makes it easier. Um, it makes your soul more rounded, so to speak. It makes it more, I don't like to use more powerful, but more stronger. More, because every time you have a moment that is difficult and you heal that moment and bring it back into balance again and bring it back into your own soul, the learning of that experience joins your soul. So the more times you're able to heal that, it makes your soul even stronger. So I would like to just do a quick journey and to see what Spirit has to say. When I say Spirit, I call upon the spiritual realm for a spirit to come forward that wants to speak on the subject. It could be my higher self, it could be Jesus, it could be my spirit guides, it could be the archangels, it could be God himself, it could be anyone, as long as it comes from the right source. And if it is not, then you know within your heart where the source comes from. Just give me one moment. So what I do is I close my eyes. I go to a place within my own mind, and sometimes if it's, for instance, I go to a specific spot, I can do that as well. So if you want to go to a specific person and you say that person, you can go to them, or you can call them to come to you. It really depends on how you want to do it. I like to go to a spot in my mind and allow the spirits to come to me. And this is just one way. I do it other ways as well. But this time, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to a beach. It feels like it's the right place to go. So I go to a beach and I'm walking along the beach. And I sit down on the sand and I just flop backwards and just look up at the sky. And I just lay in the sand for a while. The heat of the sand is quite comfortable. It's not too hot. You know, sometimes you walk on the beach and it's like, ow, 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 ow. I don't know if you ever experienced that. I'm sure if you've been to a beach in a hot area, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But this time the sand is just nice and comfortably warm. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. And I just lay there and I start to fall into the sand. And I just allow myself to fall. But my legs are stuck and I'm dangling into a dark space. And it's like, why are you holding on to that? And I say, I don't want to hold on to it any longer. A hand goes up through the sand and pulls me out of the dark space and brings me up into the clouds. And there's an area where I can stand on. It's like a rainbow, crystal, circular. It's just a floating disc in the sky. And they set me on that. And this is a beautiful angel. It is a male. It is actually my higher self, Narente, that pulled me out. And he says, when you go to these spaces and you dangle there in the darkness, feel like you're stuck, just ask for us to help. And he says us because he is willing to help anyone who asks, because he is a reflection of an angel himself. But he's not just an angel. He's more than that. And the angels itself are more than just angels. So when you call upon an angel to help you, they'll pull you out of that dark space and place you into a beautiful area. I am standing on a disc just above the clouds, and the clouds sometimes, just the tips of them will touch this disc, and I watch the sun glisten, like it's almost like a sunset. The clouds in the sunlight hitting the tips of the clouds. It's really quite beautiful, and the sky is orange. It's very peaceful. So he asks you all, it is okay to grieve, it is okay to be upset, but don't stay too long into the darkness. We are here to help. We are here to bring you back upwards, but you do need to let go of it, because if you hold on to it, we will try to bring you up, and you will not be able to. Well, we will not be able to, because the strings will pull you back down again. So when you ask for help, you also have to be able to let go of the things that are making you sad. You need to state that as well. You need to say, it is time I let go of this grief. It is time I let go of this guilt. It is time I let go. And I need your help. And you can speak to any belief system that you have, and they will bring you up out of that darkness and help you let go. But you have to be willing to do that, because if we try to pull you out and you're not willing to let go, you'll be bounced back and you'll be pulled back down into the darkness again. I'm actually walking on the disc, and it's like a rainbow disc, and I'm just walking around in a circle. And I'm looking down, there's like a doorway that's opening and a staircase that leads down. And he says, go. You need to go down there, so go down. It is okay, I'm always with you. I walk down the staircase and it spirals down, and I'm standing in the hospital room where my mother was. And we're having a conversation about me leaving. And I actually didn't really know what to say. What can I say that I know my mother is dying? Her eyes are sunken in, she weighs practically nothing. She is like half of what she used to be. And you have to say to yourself, what am I supposed to say? It's funny, if I would have known the things I did now, I would have been able to say so much more. But then I say I was never meant to say that, because at the time I would know what to have said. So I cannot have any guilt of not saying things I didn't know what to say, because I didn't know them at the time. The learning would have been different. This time I kiss my mother on the forehead and give her a big hug and say, I understand why you want me to do this. At the time I didn't do that. I just stood up and had leave. I had took everything in my power to leave. I didn't really know what to do. And when I'm leaving, I see that her soul is sitting upright, and as I'm leaving I look back, and her tears are no longer crying. I don't hear the crying anymore. I just see my mother's soul happy that I made the choice that made the most sense at the time, and she was proud of me to be able to make that choice, because it would have changed a lot of things if I didn't make that choice. Things that I had to go through in my life, places and people I would have not have met. It was never meant to be except what it was. And she was proud of me, and now when I look back, I see my mother's soul sitting up looking back at me and smiling. And then I see her beside me taking my hand and being with me the whole time, for many months after that moment. especially the time when I got the phone call that she passed away and I couldn't go. It's just one small example how you can go back and look at a moment and replace it with something more positive and more beautiful, because that's actually happened as well. I could not see that till now. I cannot see that until that moment, or this moment, that's was actually happening, instead of me just seeing her crying. Is at the same time, she was exceedingly proud of me to be able to leave, and that was happening at the same time. But now I can see that now, and before I couldn't. This actually makes a difference. It's like a final letting go, replacing a memory with something that was also a memory that I didn't know I'd experienced. I'll never forget the moment, because that made me who I am today. But I was able to relive that moment without having tears, because I'm getting more and more able to let go of the moment, see it differently, bring it in as part of my learning. That's all I'm going to share with you today, and be strong and forgive yourself. Believe in yourself. Understand that there's so many things out there, there's so many people out there that are going through very similar experiences. All I need is a little bit of encouragement and understanding. It can go a long way. So talk to one another. Help one another. Share love with people. Help them. Walk across the street if they're old. Help the next door neighbor if they're stuck. For instance, and if you live in Canada like I do, you see somebody that's stuck, offer a hand. There's a lot of things that we can do in our lives to help other people. We just have to choose to do it. And if somebody is grieving and lost, it's hard. But just be there when they need it. Offer your help. If it's ignored or if it's rejected, it doesn't matter. Just that it was offered is important, and people remember that. Be strong, but also fill your heart with love and understanding. Thank you very much, everyone. And that was a message about how to deal with loss. And we know every person does things differently. Every person has a different way of doing it. But the best way to deal with loss is to go in and actually experience it and see it in a different light. Maybe there's a lot of positive things about it that you never even knew. And most importantly, forgive yourself. Be patient with yourself. If you wish to do a service with me, you can go to my website at almondrossawakening.com, and you can visit my Northern Light page at Joseph Bradley or auroras.com. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.